It's a beautiful Wednesday, August 6th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's number one casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards, and it's time to talk some ball with our guy, Josh Pate.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
We are recording this well in advance. So if there's something very important that we didn't talk about, we'll get to it on the next episode, we promise. August, kind of a crazy month for us too.
It's a crazy month. Hopefully nothing that pressing has happened between now and then, because really looking forward to this with the college football content king.
My nightmare is something very bad happens at OU training camp and we don't talk about it on here. But that's not going to happen. We're staying positive. Positivity only.
That ain't happening.
That's my motto heading into the season.
I love it.
It's free to be positive, guys. Come on.
Free. I love it. That's where I'm at too.
Here's the man. The college football content king, as Teddy said. It's Josh Pate. We are joined. That's not how I start this. It is our pleasure to be joined by the host of the number one college football digital media show on planet Earth. Also a man that I think has a Q rating somewhere in the same range as Sydney Sweeney. Josh Pate is in the house. What's up, man?
I was going to comment how pissed Teddy and I were that we're starting like first and 45 with how many false starts you had before we finally got to press record. But I'm not going to do that because you made the Sydney Sweeney corollary there, which I've always asked you to do, and you've never done it until now.
To my defense, that's the only time I've ever fumbled the intro to an interview. It's just your aura, man. It's your presence. I'm sitting amongst greats, apparently.
You rolled the snap back to him, Gabe.
That was, I'm not going to say what a lot of sinners call it, but that's the when you move it a little bit and you get the center fall start. That was it. Yeah. I only messed up one time, guys. Leave me alone.
That's what you love. What you love is the false start, but an excuse behind why I had the false start. That's all you want as a fan. I'll take the penalty.
How about this? I'm going to go back. I'm going to leave it in. It's staying in.
Yeah.
The mistake is staying in. I'm going to own my mistakes. Can we talk about football now instead of just making fun of me? I'm fine with being made fun of, but do you think OU is going to be good, Josh?
Hey, I think they're going to be better than half the fan base does. So I have come here not to pump tires. I've come here for maybe you guys to deflate my air pressure a little bit. I'm concerned, like in the summer months, you're supposed to adjust that tire pressure. Apparently, I didn't get the memo. I mean, I don't know if I should be concerned. That's why we're here. We're here to talk. We're not here to do an interview. We're not here to gather content. We're here to just potentially talk me back off the ledge or reaffirm my position. Because here's my baseline, and we'll just start with this. I believe they are a top 10 caliber team. Absent schedule, if everyone were playing a baseline schedule, I think they're a top 10 caliber team. I don't view last year's team as they had a fatal flaw, but I don't view them top to bottom as fatally flawed in a sense that, man, we got to gut this thing. That's not even remotely comparable. It's not even in the galaxy of what Oklahoma was. So if I go in, the things I think I can count on, I think conservatively I can count on them to play top 20 defense. That's conservatively. It may be better than that. I think that I have good offensive personnel, and we can hope that offensive line play scales, which I think it will. Love the Ott kid, which is being totally forgotten about nationally at running back because of the quarterback offensive coordinator combo. And that aforementioned OC QB combo, I don't think takes 6 weeks to take root because you're not asking the quarterback to learn a new system or anything like that. You're asking him to adjust to faster bullets in a new league, but he's not having to do it by himself. It's not Cam Newton 2010. It's not John Mateer, come save us. It's John Mateer, come do your job, and we're going to surround you with plenty good enough pieces. So because of that, I know what the schedule is, but a schedule is not a team. The team is the team that plays the schedule. I think that they're a top 10 caliber team, and I do not look in the rearview mirror as the best indicator of what to expect this year from them. Now, that's where I am. I've been told by everyone nationally that's insane, but that's okay. But I've also been told by portions of Sooner Nation that's a little bit aggressive. So that's what I want to talk about.
Well, I don't think it's aggressive at all. I mean, I think if you just kind of follow the timeline and you like going back and trying to compare this team to last year's team is worthless in my opinion. But a lot of the predictions and people starting to come aboard, it starts with John Mateer. What are some of the things that you really like, and what are some of the things maybe that you have questions whether or not they translate from Washington State to the SEC?
I don't have a ton of questions. I think in a general sense, like if I'm not breaking down his skill set, but if I'm just speaking generically, if I were to put a piece of paper in front of you, but you didn't get to watch the film, you didn't get to see the guy, and you knew he played at Washington State last year, you would naturally question whether the increased level of competition is something that he can adjust to. That's a fair question for anyone, so I will blanketly copy and paste that here. I don't have any question whatsoever about the guy calling plays for him. I think Ben Arbuckle is going to be a star. I got more feedback from coaches when they went and got him than when they went and got the QB himself. So that's how highly a lot of people think of Arbuckle in the coaching world. The other question I would have, Teddy, would be, all right, do you have the horses to throw it to? And I think the skill set in Oklahoma's wide receiver room is a little underrated, given that health is not a concern again this year. I think the skill set in that room is a little bit underrated. So, like, my concern's not with his arm strength, poise, accuracy, or anything like that. I think he's ultra aggressive. I think he's ultra competitive. All the intangibles and intangibles, at least to the extent you need it to win in the SEC, I think are there. It would mainly be very generic questions for me. It'd be the same stuff I would ask about anyone. I asked it about Cam Ward to a certain extent last year, elevating from Washington State to Miami. Like, he was turnover prone at Washington State. He was very erratic. He made questionable decisions at times. Well, what you found is, yeah, that could be indication that he's not ready for prime time. It also could be that, the trade-off when you take a guy from Pullman, Washington, and plug him in either Coral Gables or Norman, the trade-off for him is he also gets surrounded by a different caliber athlete, a different caliber coaching staff, different caliber medical training, the Monday through Friday stuff. So I have supreme confidence in that aspect of it.
Are we assuming? I feel like everyone is just assuming, hey, Brent Venables, OU defense is going to be solid. They're really solid a year ago. Now you lose Stutzman, you lose Bowman, but are you just assuming, like many, that hey, OU's defense is going to be one of the better units in the conference?
Yeah. So you are
That's where
right.
I'm at too, man.
Well, those departures happen. Okay, so I mean, Ikard, I know you don't eat carbs, but if we were to get toast delivered to us right now, some places they give you like 3 things of butter, and this is not an issue. Some places want to skimp on the butter, and they give you that one little cube of butter. It's not enough.
Sidebar.
So,
are you
yes,
in on the butter, or are you all in on the butter right now? Butter's back, baby.
I'm all in when I can get the butter. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I love spreadable butter. I love body butter. I love every kind of butter.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, I watched Predator. So how can you not love body butter? Those guys were bathing in it before every scene. I don't know where we were going with that. So let's remember where that road is.
You're into health and fitness. I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
I because I'm back on butter. I was a big olive oil guy for a long time. And I'm like, I'm going back to the butter, and here I am.
Society lost its way in many different facets for a few years. So
remember
I
when
don't blame
people
you.
tried to make avocado oil a thing?
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
wrong?
I don't blame you. We all lost.
Okay, back to the football.
We're back.
Sidebar over.
When they don't give me enough butter on the toast, you have to figure out, there's a little glob of it up in the top left. How do I scrape enough of it over? And I look at college football. I don't see a complete defense anywhere. I don't see just stacked all three levels, future NFL guys at every position. So everybody worth their salt at the defensive coordinator position and beneath has to figure out a way to spread it out enough to where you've just got everything covered. And it may be a thinner layer than Brent Venables was comfortable with a decade ago when he was at Clemson, but that's not a guy. This is probably one of the best compliments you can give a coach in this modern age. That's not a guy who only knows one way to do it. Very, very multiple, very versatile, can adjust on the fly, I think, via his personnel or kind of depending on his personnel. So when I said conservatively, I said, oh, I think he'll put a top 20 unit on the field conservatively. Well, that's not even conservative. He will do that. But that also baked into that sample size is probably a week where the opposition has 24 on the board midway through the third. Because it's just something's happened that day. But there's also going to be a day where it's 13-13 midway through the fourth. Like all that stuff is baked into that pie. I just don't I don't do that thing where I judge it in a vacuum. Like, they got a backfill at linebacker, and I don't think they have those caliber guys. Well, what does that mean? They're screwed? No, it just means it's college football. So if that's the standard for concern, the whole country's concerned. Kirby Smart's concerned. They're concerned at Ohio. You don't think they're concerned at Ohio State having to backfill what they have to backfill? So everybody's got that. Who do I trust the most? I don't know that the list is very lengthy above Brent Venables as to who I would choose the most to get that and round it into form.
Like talking about the defense, the interesting thing for me is because the natural thing is, well, how good is this defense going to be compared to last year's defense? And I don't even know how good last year's defense is because the first thing you do is you go, well, where'd they finish statistically? And they were good, but it doesn't tell the story of how those games unfolded. And they constantly lived in a horrible position, down on the scoreboard, turnovers, and their own end of the field. So whenever you look at that, I guess the question is, if you consider that, you talk about the defensive line that a lot of people have really gotten behind. What's the ceiling for this defense in your mind?
Again, comparatively, I'm almost tempted to say conservatively, but I can't because you said ceiling. It could be one of the 7 best in the country, I would say, but that's also taking into account what we just said. We just said here's what would happen, Teddy, if I were to be in a town square right now and it's general college football fans from all across the country. I would make the statement I just made, and they would start booing and hissing, like, oh, no, there's no way they're going to be a top 7 defense. And so my response would be dead face, list me the 7 that you think will definitively be better. Then they would start listing defenses, and I would pick apart every single one of them because every single one of them has not small question marks, but somewhere really big question marks. Everyone's got them. So Oklahoma's got them as well. So I'll fall back to what I just said. If everyone's got questions, do I trust that they have adequate personnel? Yes, I did with Oklahoma. Number 2, do I trust the guy calling the shots? In this case, do I trust the guy almost like taking another hand and putting it back on the defense, whereas he kind of had one partially off last year? Yes, to that also. So is that fair? Top 7, I would say. That means everything went right for them, and no elite defenses really cropped up in college football this year, which I don't think we'll see. We may see units collectively play above their skis, but I just don't know that we have one of those 2021 Georgia, like 2015 Alabama type defenses out there.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first, taking a road trip this summer? Remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway, and with the Love's app, you can save big all summer long. You can save 10 cents per gallon on gas and up to 25 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app this summer and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
Summer is here, and there's no better way to fire up your cookouts than with Didier Ranch's steak burgers made from 100% premium cuts of steak. These burgers are the real deal. Juicy, flavorful, and packed with that rich, beefy taste that you love. Plus, they're shipped right to your door, so you can spend more time doing what you love and less time shopping. Head over to DidierRanch.com now and use code SOONER for a special discount on your first order. Get ready to taste the best burgers you've ever had. Proudly raised 100% in Oklahoma. Didier Ranch, steak in every bite.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned company and the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. It's August in Oklahoma, and that can only mean one thing. OU football is back. Get ready for home games with us. Every home OU football game will feature exclusive limited edition drinkware drops, perfect for staying hydrated while you cheer on the Sooners. Each home game brings a brand new design only available while supplies last. So grab yours each game before they are gone. And with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you'll also know you're helping Oklahomans off the field as well. Simple Modern, good everywhere. All right, back to the interview. So everyone wants to know, okay, what's a successful season look like for the Sooners in 2025? Do you think this is a team capable of winning double-digit games with that schedule? Do you think it's, hey, a 9-3 and 8-4 team? Like, where's your head at with this team record-wise going into the season?
Yeah, success for me would be 9 wins. They're in the playoff if they win 9 games. So 9 is my barometer for success. There is certainly a scenario where they win 8 games and 4 losses are by a combined 15 points, where I would look at it and say, that's a pretty darn good job by that coaching staff. Now, they're probably out of the postseason picture, I would guess, with 4 losses. I don't know how that works. But as you guys know, every year you see really, really, really good 8-4s, 9-3s, whatever your loss column is. You see records where you say, man, they were a little bit better team than that. And then you see teams with 3 or 4 losses, but they were all blowout losses. So you think, oh man, they were an 8-win team, but they weren't even close to being a 9-win team. There was a Grand Canyon between 8 and 9. I know there's a magic line in the sand beyond which you make the playoff, and it's probably between 8 and 9. So I know that the general public and even hardcore fans will look and say, Josh, there's a wide gap between 8 and 9. What if the difference between 8 and 9 is a doink off the upright against Auburn randomly or something like that? So my point is, success to me, 9 wins, and you're contending for the trip to Atlanta, and you're contending for or in a playoff spot. That's success to me. And I think they're fully capable of it, by the way.
Yeah. Well, as we kind of talk about the schedule and the record, I think whenever you look at the SEC, because one of my theories, and it's possibly stupid, but whenever you go back and look at Oklahoma's schedule last year, I get the feeling that they played most of the teams at the peak of what they've been almost over the last decade.
Yep.
South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee. I mean, the list just kind of goes. All of those teams all peaked at that kind of last year. And I guess that's my question. How many of those teams across the SEC last year do you think are going to be better than they were a year ago, or maybe take like a natural step back, because there's a lot of guys graduated across the conference. You've heard it. All of the COVID guys, the 5th and 6th year seniors are starting to transition out. So it's kind of a different landscape.
Yeah, so I just pulled up their schedule. You could probably unprofessionally hear me typing on the keyboard because I didn't mute myself. But that 4-game stretch from October 11th to November 1st is a perfect case study in what you're talking about. Because you got Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Now, I can tell you confidently from being around those programs, all 4 of them think they're playoff contenders. All 4 of them, at least 3 of the 4, think that last year was kind of an appetizer to this year's main course. And we should circle back on this because that's a theme throughout the SEC that I think is very flawed. We could go like 7 or 8 deep with people who think that. But anyway, Texas with Arch. It is very possible that you're talking about a situation where even if they do hit their stride, maybe it's not by early October. And I also want to come back to a side note about Red River. South Carolina, with Lenora Sellers being like the gigantic poster child, rightfully so, of that team, very few people outside of Columbia have taken a look at that wide receiver room. Very few have taken a look at that tailback room. Very few, as far as I can tell, have taken a look at the defensive attrition. So yes, they're trying to spread the butter pretty thinly across the toast as well. Ole Miss is the most glaring example here because that's a team that should have been in the playoff last year. And I don't say should have as in they got screwed out of a spot. I say should have as in inexplicably they threw that opportunity away. And their fan base looks at that and they say, all right, well, we just got to build off that. How do you know that's not the furthest you'll ever, or the closest you'll ever get, is my counter. I hope for your sake it's not. But like, how do you know that wasn't your shot and you blew it? Because they are heavily reliant on portal churn every year. Defensively, they were great last year. Hardly anyone realized that it was a Jackson Dart team. It was a defensive team. Kind of the same with Tennessee, who you play the next week. That was a defensive-led team that had, in Ole Miss's case, more so than Tennessee, flashes of offensive brilliance and success. I don't just randomly count on first-year guys, even if it's Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. I don't just blindly count on them to come out of the gate hot again. I think Tennessee's going to fall off a little bit. Now, you get to make the trip there, and Heupel will take that game ultra personal, so that's all the marquee stuff. But that's a 4-game stretch there where every one of them would look at their schedule and say, yep, we should beat Oklahoma. I look at it from OU's perspective, and I say, why not Oklahoma in every single one of those games? And especially with the Red River. Now, I've gotten myself in trouble a little bit. I was doing radio in Birmingham like a month ago with Next Round, and Lance Taylor says, "Hey, let me bounce you a scenario. What if OU is undefeated against a 2-loss Texas in the Red River Shootout?" And I didn't have the schedules in my head, so I said, "I think you're trying to bait me. Like it doesn't sound like you're serious, but go ahead." And he laid it out, and I was pulling up the schedule as he was laying it out.
At
It is
Ohio State, at Florida.
It's completely plausible. Oh, let me just go this far. I've got OU undefeated going into that game. I think you'll beat Michigan. I think you'll beat Auburn. It's a very nice runway. It's a great blend of all games at home, but some really good stiff competitive matchups. So like you get your lip bloodied a little bit, but I'm comfortable enough with the position you're in. So I think OU will be undefeated. Ohio State will be a favorite over Texas. Point spreads don't win games or anything like that, but just on a scale of believability, Texas will be a dog in week 1. I think Texas at Florida is the underrated game of the year in the league. No one's talking about it right now, and I think that'll be a complete knife fight. It's very plausible that could be what the records are. Now, the records don't matter in that day. I just say that to try and illustrate how different the reality could be in this league this year as opposed to the perception. Because you say that to someone on the street corner, they don't even, not only do they not take it seriously as a possibility, not only do they not take OU being a contender as a possibility, they'll go a step further. They'll accuse you of hot taking or clickbaiting. It's even beyond the realm of presentability. Like you ought to be zipped up and thrown away in some room in a sanitarium. Should you even mention that OU should be taken seriously? And I'm looking at it, and this is called a filibuster, by the way. I'm looking at it, and I'm saying you're trying to judge these teams comparable to previous years. Like you're looking at OU or whoever, and you're saying, that's not a team that's the caliber of 2019 LSU. Well, you're right. But the follow-up is nobody is in the league this year. 2020 Alabama would smoke that team. Well, good thing they don't play 2020 Alabama. 2021 Georgia would shut that team down. Well, I don't see them in line this year. So you've got to compete against the teams on your schedule. I like OU's runway leading up. Now, the trade-off is they better fulfill that little prophecy I laid out because it gets really, really stiff in a hurry that Texas game and after that game, and you got to be moving full speed. If they're moving full speed, and I know they can, I don't want them to know this, but we know that they can afford 3 losses at that point. I trust them to navigate through that back stretch with no more than 3 losses.
I know you are a power ratings guy. Can't wait for the initial
Yes.
JP
Yes.
poll. Very excited about it. But I think one of the easiest ways to look at the SEC heading into the season is kind of just tiers. Who do you have on that top tier heading into the season, knowing that, hey, our opinions are going to change once we see these teams play games?
Yeah, I don't have a top tier. I got asked this last week. So I put tier one, I left it blank. And when I view tiers, I need to picture like a touchdown between you and then whoever's in the next tier. I need to see solid separation, in other words. I would sit here and tell you, yeah, I'd favor Georgia against Ole Miss on a neutral field. Like, yeah, if I ran a sports book, I would do that, but it would be by three, 3.5. That's not solid separation. So I looked at it and I said, I'm not putting anybody in tier 1A, I guess. Tier 1B, Georgia's in there, Bama's in there, LSU's in there, Texas is in there, but I'm putting Florida in there, which most people wouldn't. I'm putting OU in there, which most people wouldn't. I'd put Ole Miss in there. I'd put South Carolina in there. There's just not a ton of separation in these teams this year. And I may be proven wrong. Like someone may totally scale their performance and run roughshod over the league. I just don't see that. So normally you're right. I was talking about this at Media Days last week or 2 weeks ago. Normally we've rolled in there and it's either been who can beat Alabama, or it's Bama and Georgia, or it's Georgia, can someone else compete with them? But it's always been like one team or two teams in tier one. Then it's who could potentially pop up to beat them. That's not the case, but people haven't recalibrated their thinking to account for the changes in the sport. One of them is Nick Saban's not in the league anymore. That's one of the changes. Another change is portal. Another change is NIL. And you've just taken this giant chainsaw and you've like shaved the tops off of the tallest trees, but you've also shaved a lot of their underbrush. So I was sitting with Kirby Smart about a month ago. He lays out his two deep in front of me. He has since recited all of this at Media Days. He said, this is my two deep. 54% of them are first or second year players. This is my 2021 two deep. Hardly any second year players there. Second year players, as he put it, were being baptized into the program in 2021. Now he's totally reliant on second year players to either start for him or fill out his two deep. He's not simplifying what he does. So that means I look at a Georgia and I say, well, you're going to play Sark, you're going to play Kiffin, you're going to play DeBoer. That reeks of a setup where Georgia could be a really good team with a few critical busts per game that end up being the difference in 11-1 and 8-4. That's all over the league, guys. It's all over the league. So there is not separation in its classical form between a Georgia in the field or Bama or Texas or whoever.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. Schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
Oklahoma's favorite pub, Pub W, is a modern American pub offering a great new take on classic drinks and cuisine. They offer an extensive beer and specialty drink selection with something for everyone, and that's exactly why Pub W was voted best happy hour. And we all love a delicious brunch. Pub W brunch is served Saturdays and Sundays until 2 p.m. with some of the most delicious brunch offerings you'll find anywhere. Now open in Yukon, Oklahoma. Visit one of their 6 Oklahoma locations. Visit pubdub.com for locations and menus.
Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, back to the interview.
It's not a tier year, it's a spectrum year. We got a spectrum of players. I just want to extend that nationally. When I go back and I look at last year's playoff, and I look at a lot of those teams where they are right now, and opinions may change, and the players that have been plugged in, may go above and beyond. But I think you can extend what you just said about the SEC really to all of college football, right? And
yes,
I remember the conversation last year was, I don't remember where it started, but that Ohio State team may have been the last super team that we see.
I don't call them a super team. I know what you mean by super team. The collection of talent warranted that kind of label.
But it wasn't an organic where it all came from within the program.
Can you have a super team? And I was a big Will Howard fan. Can you have a super team if Will Howard's your quarterback? You know what I mean?
Can you have a super team if they lose 2 regular season games?
What are you talking about, Ted? They weren't a super team. No, but
I think there is a function of a lot of transfer players coming in. I think teams are going to peak at different moments. Like,
yes.
It could be a really good team late.
Yeah, like I think the super team is what you're saying. Previously, we would have thought super team, loaded roster, future first rounders on the threes. So yeah, that era's probably long gone. I think the super team is someone who, no matter how you put the talent together, bottles up what Ohio State did last year. And that was not an accident. When I went up to Columbus in spring of last year, I always ask guys, is there anything you fundamentally changed about your procedures, your organization, whatever? And I was talking to Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni, who's his general manager, chief, whatever. And they said, we are looking at the new landscape. And they just laid out like half a dozen to a dozen things. Here is what we fundamentally changed about our program to account for the fact that if we get where we want to go, we've got to be playing into late January. And we got to play 17 games potentially, I think is what it was. And lo and behold, you fast forward to December and they're left for dead coming off the Michigan loss. And it's like they rev the engine and hit a ramp, and you're watching them in the playoff and you're saying, is this the team that lost to Michigan? Well, it's the same uniform. It's the same collection of guys. Certainly it's not the same team because they're performing at a different level. Or either that was part of the variance of outcome for that team. So I would ask this, Teddy, by that metric, I'd kind of also call Michigan the year before a super team. There's all kind of argument about, the sign stealing stuff, but if just push that to the side. You're talking about a nucleus of guys that in most other places would have dispersed either to the NFL or to the portal. They decided to stick together and they put forth an inspired performance and won a national championship. They didn't blow people out. They didn't hang 55 per game, but they did something that's going to be in really short supply. This year, if Penn State were to do that, they're writing a page in the history books that feels a lot like that with them. If Bama does it this year, because they had a lot of guys stick around and forego the draft and forego the portal, I think you would say a similar thing about Alabama. But outside of that, I mean, I'm trying to think. You're probably talking about introducing a new lexicon into college football, and you're also talking about sort of crystallizing another lexicon as historical. Like we use these terms to look back on years gone by now. This thing is like a stegosaurus. It doesn't exist today, but here's the skeleton so we know it once roamed the earth.
You went to SEC media days, you went to Big Ten media days. Clearly you're covering the ACC. You're covering everything in college football, but is there a particular team that you're really high on heading into the season? One that kind of stands out among the pack?
You mean that's not being talked about?
Either. You can give me one that a lot of people are talking about and one that maybe you think's flying under the radar.
Yeah. So I think Georgia Tech's going to play for the conference championship this year. So that is, according to the odds board, a little bit of a stretch. I think they're like the 4th favorite, but there's a pretty wide gap. Clemson.
I've not heard anyone else say that.
Yeah, well, they're wrong. I mean, I'm right on this. They're going to be right there in the mix. They are. I would never question Clemson's identity, but outside of that program, which is a solid number 1, and they should be. Did you guys watch a lot of Georgia Tech last year? Did you catch them at all?
First of all, when Buster Faulkner was in the picture, he was one of the names being floated out there for OU's next offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I went and watched a lot. I love it. I love it so much. And then Haynes King's one of my favorite players to watch in all of college football. That dude is, he's tough as nails. He's awesome.
Did you notice how quickly when you were watching Georgia Tech, you could tell me what their identity is? It didn't take you very long.
A lot of tight ends.
Yes.
Physical football team. It was a very NFL style model. Now they've blended a lot of the RPO and read run game and all that stuff. But I'm a big fan of what they do offensively, Josh. Big fan.
I think they did it with lesser personnel last year. Hateful 3 stars is what I like to call them. They did it with hateful 3 stars. But what I love is um, the the defensive personnel type in college football now. I think you guys would both agree. I mean, your average size at linebacker is what, 30 pounds less than what it used to be? And it adjusted because you had to adjust different kinds of offenses that you were defending. And guys realized, man, we got to go more hybrid. We got to get quicker. We got to value speed over size. We got to value different things. Well, that's all well and good when you're defending like the Dana Holgerson offense. It serves you very well to do that. The problem is there's always going to be someone like Brent Key who says, yeah, I'm not interested in any of it. I will run my quarterback 15 times a game. I will recruit 330-pound offensive linemen, and I have no problem calling 55 designed runs on you and just trying to lean on you for 4 quarters. I got no problem doing that. I'm totally comfortable uglying up the game. I'm totally comfortable playing for the fourth quarter. And they did it last year, and they whipped Miami up front, which they had no business doing. They took Georgia to 19 overtimes. I am firmly convinced, by the way, had they won the Georgia game, a lot more people would be saying what I'm saying right now. Now, they lost it in an overtime, which is a total crapshoot. That doesn't change the team they'll be this year, but it does change how many people are sleeping on them this year. So I love Haynes King because he is a specific fit also for what they do. Specific fit. That's not a guy who anyone's looking at saying, hopefully he can stay healthy this year. If he does, he'll be a top 5 pick in the draft. I love guys like that because that means, for all we know, college football may be the peak of their career, which means you're going to see them take the machete across the chest, like in Predator, which is the second Predator reference on the show today. But those are guys who leave it all in college football, and come what may when they leave. But when we were down at SEC Media Days on the way out of town, I tried to get over there and I tried to sit down with those guys for a little while, and very quiet confidence. They love the quiet nature of it. But them keeping Buster Faulkner is a huge deal. And you think about that. That was a guy who was over at Georgia, and he rolled the dice career-wise in going with Brent Key and believing in him to go to Georgia Tech, where everyone had failed miserably in recent history. Well, Paul Johnson didn't fail, but they had not played at the level that, Brent Key wants to play at. And they're doing it now. And I think this year will be an affirmation of what I'm saying. I know they have to prove it to the rest of the country. I already believe in them. I'm fully bought in. So I could not be, relatively speaking, I could not be higher on Georgia Tech.
I want to place you back in that incredibly dangerous town square you were talking about earlier, where you're talking to general football fans. What are you going to say in that town square about Penn State? And, to the larger question, maybe who's your favorite for a national championship as you view it right now?
Let me hit the second part first. I very, very tentatively said Clemson the other day, but as we all know, I mean, we're talking in August, so it's early August too. So we reserve the right to change picks there. I don't have a strong favorite, Teddy. I could make an argument for like a dozen of them, but I would say Clemson very lightly right now. Write it in pencil. With Penn State, what I've said about them is I expect a slightly improved version of what they normally are. Now, slightly improved for them could mean the difference in close games and they win it all. Or it could be the net result is another 10-2, but maybe they took Ohio State to an overtime and lost or something like that. I do not blindly assume that just because you're returning a quarterback, he gets 20% better. People have not shaken the 5-star label out of their head with Drew Aller. And so the question around him is still, can he reach his full potential this year? Well, how do you know he's not playing at his full potential? He's put 2 full years of tape in front of you. How do you know he's not playing at his full potential? So then the follow-up is his potential good enough? Well, if they're plus turnovers, if they play really good situational football, yeah, the way he's playing is probably good enough if they want to live on a razor's edge this year. Oregon comes to them early with a lot of questions. They should be expected to win that game. And then they could go lose in Columbus for all I care. It'd be a bonus if they won. But I don't see any way they miss the playoff. They've, aside from a huge upset, I don't see how they miss the playoff this year. But to expect them to just be quantumly improved, I don't see that. I see very, very marginal improvement, and that could be enough to get them over the hump. But the conversation is so weird around Penn State because they're not terrible. They're a lot closer to great than terrible. Franklin's a lot closer to number one than he is to number 30, but because they keep running into the same wall over and over again, and they don't get past it, they don't knock it down. People don't say, "Oh, they're so close." They say, "Oh, they suck. They're trash. They're overrated." Well, they're not overrated. They're totally properly rated. The only thing that's rated above them is that Ohio State logo, that Michigan logo, that Oregon logo. Those are the ones they can't beat. Everyone else belongs beneath them. So I've always had this weird thing with James Franklin where I think he's the most properly rated coach in America, and everyone disagrees. And I say, "What is he rated?" And they'll never tell me what he's rated because the truth is he's rated about sixth or seventh, which is where he belongs.
We'll get you back to the interview. But first, three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go. And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off.
Do not skip this ad. Ridge is doing its legendary sweepstakes for the fifth time, and this time it is insane. Two lucky winners will get to choose between a $300,000 Lamborghini Huracan Storado, that's right, Gabe, and a $150,000 Hennessy Velociraptor, or $100,000 in cash. So you can head to ridge.com, use code OKBreakdown at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever. And by now, you know you need to be using the Ridge wallet. It's amazing, and Ridge has free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty on all their products. So it's literally the last wallet you'll ever have to buy. So if you're ready to upgrade your wallet and maybe your ride, head to ridge.com and use code OKBreakdown at checkout for 10% off your order and a chance to win Ridge's biggest sweepstakes ever, a Lamborghini Huracan Storado or a Hennessy Velociraptor, or you just take the $100,000 in cash. No purchase necessary to enter, but every dollar you spend gets you more entries. That's ridge.com. Use code OKBreakdown. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
All right, back to the interview. We've talked a lot of ball. Now we need to talk a little business.
Oh, yeah.
This is how I'm going to phrase this question. How does it feel to hear all these rumors about you and your show's future? What has that experience been like for you?
Weird, because no one knows what I'm doing. I have
Tell us, Pate.
I found out what it feels like to be maybe like in the not the hot seat, but like if your name's being floated about and there's always a guy on a message board who has the scoop.
Are you a coordinator getting elevated? Do you view it as a coordinator in the running for a head coaching job, or is it a big time head coach going somewhere else? Like what's the football equivalent here?
It's certainly head coach. This is why I created my own university.
Yeah, you are.
When you create your own fictitious university, you get to name your position. It just so happens I named myself head coach at Pate State. So we're independent. So we can go wherever we want. When we are Notre Dame in fantasy land, we're Notre Dame. Here is the problem. This day and age, if you own your own intellectual property, you don't just sign one big, beautiful contract, if you will. There's all kind of different stuff you do, all kind of different licensing deals. The key is don't be stupid. Keep the product exactly as the audience wants it, which we're doing. Same schedule, same YouTube channel, same podcast feeds. If there's a new marketing engine behind it, nobody cares. If there's a new promotional and sales engine behind it, no one cares. Probably a prettier set, I would say. probably a nicer merchandise store. But outside of that, it's just all behind the curtain business. So I don't have this grand headline for you guys. I do have bad news if you don't like me. I'll probably be a little more visible this season. And again, my mom loves that. I can tell you certain portions of the internet will not like that, but this is America. That's the way it is.
Just to
Big
recap,
takeaway, don't be stupid, right?
Yes,
Don't
yes.
be stupid.
just to recap, things we talked about: OU, the SEC, what Penn State, Georgia Tech, little Clemson in there. Things we did not talk about: the House settlement, the
Nope.
CFP format, NIL, executive orders, all ball, baby. That's what
Do
we
you
do.
think people are even going to care?
You would know.
Yeah.
You're the guy doing numbers, man. You would know. So you
I
tell
think
me.
they care, but they don't want to hear about it anymore.
No one wants it. The season's almost here. No one wants to hear about it.
Imagine that. Guys like us free to just talk football. It may work. It may indeed work. We'll see.
Great work.
You're the man, Pate. Appreciate your time, buddy.
Appreciate it, guys.
If Pate's excited about the Sooners, everyone should be excited about the Sooners. He's a very level-headed guy. The model likes the Sooners.
The
Can't argue
pressure's
with the
off
model.
us, right? The pressure's off us. We could, if Pate says it, we can. It's a license to feel confident.
9-3 would, I think, with the schedule, we'd all go, yeah, that's a solid season. But we'll see. But once again, we've talked about this recently. It's okay to be excited about the season if you're an OU fan. It's okay.
The truth is, you're going to be eventually, anyways. So you might as well start now, right?
Fair. Very fair. On that note, episode 552 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.